critics over the last 20 or 30 years really have noticed that Beckett's work seems to speak very clearly to issues of colonialism, um, the way in which people are exploited and subjugated on a national level. And as a result, Beckett's work has been subjected to a variety of colonial readings. So the argument has been advanced that not just Waiting for Godot, but particularly Waiting for Godot, comprises a critique of colonialism in a way which is tangentially related to issues of class. So the idea that's been advanced is that Pozzo is an absentee landlord figure. He is somebody who doesn't recognize his own tenants, seems to exploit them, and certainly exploits his own tenant of Lucky. The way in which he exerts power is entirely without question. It doesn't really seem entirely appropriate to challenge him, even when Didi and Gogo notice how badly he's treating Lucky. Pozzo seems like an insurmountable force, and while they complain about it and register their distaste for what he's doing, they don't really do anything about it. They seem to be automatically at his beck and call. And that is one of the ways in which colonialism works. It works on not questioning one's superiors. So in that respect, Pozzo has been noted to be quite a colonial figure. The other way in which Beckett's work, well, particularly Waiting for Godot, has been shown to speak to the issue of colonialism is through its oblique depiction of the famine. One of the things that happens in Beckett's work quite a lot is that scarcity is an issue. There's quite a constant fear of things running out, of there not being enough. And critics like Emily Moran and Sean Kennedy have noted this as a persistent concern in Beckett. So, for example, the argument between what the vegetable is that they have, whether it's a turnip or not, seems kind of irrelevant to the fact that that's all that they have. When Pozzo comes along and he's eating the chicken bones, or rather eating chicken, and he doesn't seem to want to give any to Didi and Gogo, this really does highlight the one of the perspectives on the famine, which is that the English establishment, represented here through Pozzo, did little or not enough to help their charges. So in this case, we can read Pozzo as the British Empire, and we can read Didi and Gogo as emblematic of Ireland. But the other colonial reading that suggests itself with Waiting for Godot is the one between Pozzo and Lucky. So in this case, Pozzo is representative of the British Empire, and Lucky is representative of the Irish people, or of Ireland itself. And this is the way in which issues of class and national or international politics merge, because Lucky is dependent on Pozzo to keep him, in much the same way as Ireland would have been dependent on its support from Britain in order to be kept. So it seems that subjugation in some ways in Beckett is almost more palatable than let's say full-scale independence. So it seems that Lucky is constrained in the same way as the Irish people are restrained by the British Empire. But again, this is applicable to many circumstances, not even just colonialism, but even just relationships generally. So Godder really does sustain potential readings of the colonial moment. It seems that Beckett's work is also or also comprises a critique of even Irish foreign policy. Um, and it does speak, I think, to Ireland's neutrality during the Second World War. During the Second World War, it was the decision was that Ireland would maintain neutrality. It would take neither side of the war, and as a result, Ireland did not actively partake in the war. While certainly men enlisted, it was not the official policy of Ireland to join the war. Um, so while Beckett was away in the French resistance, fighting against the Nazis, Ireland decided that it would not have any part in this. It would stay neutral. In other words, it would wait for the war to be over. It would wait, it would not intervene. And in this respect, there are a couple of quotes which really shine through very, very clearly here. The very opening line of the play is nothing to be done. There's a sense of defeatism about this, but also a sense of neutrality. They won't do anything. They won't have any meaningful interventions in this play. They don't, for example, even help Lucky in his terrible situation. Even when they're considering whether or not they should leave, or whether or not rather they should hang themselves in the beginning, Dee Dee says, "Don't let's do anything. It's safer." So again, we have the idea that it's better not to act in some way. And this brings an ethical element to Beckett's work. Is it everyone's job? Is it everyone's incumbent task to make sure that they act in the best interests of other people? Is he showing this up on the stage, and is he consequently critiquing Ireland, that sort of sense of neutrality? But Ireland speaks to Beckett in ways that even go beyond the scope of this lecture. The idea of leaving people waiting for long times is particularly resonant with the direct provision scandal of the last 20 years, and of course, Magdalen asylums. So thanks for watching. Do bear in mind that these texts, which are so minimalist and so dense, really bear rereading when you've got one particular perspective in mind, whether it's Irishness or anything else that you necessarily want to look for. That's the beauty of Beckett's work, is the range of perspectives it can sustain. So if you've any questions you'd like to ask me, feel free to send me an email at david.mckinney@ucd.ie. Thanks.